Welcome back to another episode of Not That Important. We're here after the Pakistan vs New Zealand series. We just had the squad announced for the England and Ireland series. So we'll be talking about quite a few different things, and we might break it up into different videos. We'll talk about some of the takeaways from the New Zealand series, particularly as pertaining to the tactics, our middle order concerns, and what we think we can do to solve those, because that's a bit of a worry for the Pakistan team. Like, it wasn't the series that we were expecting, and it was actually quite disappointing. Uske alawa, we'll talk about the selection committee, some of the decisions regarding like taking out Mohammad Haris from the team entirely, including Salman Ali Agha in um, the series for England, and then also just like looking ahead to the T20 World Cup, what our best 11 could potentially look like. You can see from the title of the video what we're talking about, but check out the other things as well.
What about Hasan Ali, bro? Thoughts on him being there?
Like, it doesn't make any sense, you know. Like, where are you pulling him in for? Like, Wahab Riaz said, कि we're pulling Hasan Ali in because if Haris Rauf is not fit enough, we need an experienced pacer. Like, मतलब आमे क्या चने बेचने आया है? और फिर
Is he talking about England series or World Cup
I
though?
think he means
With that
England series,
thingy.
but like still, like, I get that Hasan Ali is there in England, so like you don't want to take another guy. But if you're looking for a replacement for Haris Rauf, you take someone who has that pace. You take like Wasim Jr. or you take Zaman Khan, who's already in the squad. Or if you actually wanted like someone who's in England, even you could have even tried Amir Jamal. But Hasan Ali, like, it doesn't really
Yeah.
make sense. Or जो तुम कह रहे थे, like, सही है उसका PSL सही गया एंड स्टाफ, लेकिन जब वो 100 लाइक 130 की बॉलिंग कर रहा है, लाइक उससे तो क्या लाइक बिगड़ने वाला है वर्ल्ड कप में. So I don't know, it doesn't really make
Yeah.
sense, but again, as long as they're not considering him seriously for the World Cup, like, okay, fine, whatever, it is what it is.
I guess you could kind of justify it if he just meant it for the England series, but then at the same time, I think that is the England series that important to you that you know you're gonna pick guy experienced over a guy who actually should maybe be traveling with the
Yeah.
team. Why? Because you want to save a plane ticket? Is that the reason? I don't quite understand. Over Azaman or Junior's been hard done by in this whole process as well, and I think Junior has bowled circles around Hassan Ali as well when we saw them play in the same team squad. So I don't know, but yeah, like you said, अगर कोई like बनता भी तो Hassan Ali तो नहीं बनता ना
Hmm.
उसका. So yeah, I don't really know what happened. Usama Mir, I thought was a little bit hard done by as well,
Yeah,
bro.
I mean, I didn't really get it
Um,
because I mean, I would have picked Abrar over Osama for Pakistan's World Cup squad. Like, in
Same.
you still need Osama there, at least like in the reserves. Like, the way it usually works is you have a spinner in the reserves, a
Yeah.
pacer, a batter. Like, I would have still taken him to the England series to give him the confidence in case like you need to take him. Like, I don't know, it doesn't really make sense to me to drop him entirely, especially if you're like to fit in like Hassan Ali. And then Salman Ali Agha, like, we spoke a lot about him after the PSL, that we wanted him to be in the Pakistan squad. Like, he offers maybe something that other players don't. Like, he can come out, like, be aggressive, give that positive intent. But once they didn't pick him in that series against New Zealand, like, to pick him now, even though like I would like to see him given the opportunity, I just feel like you're confusing yourself a lot with the fact that you have a lot of players who are playing in the same positions. Plus, bowling all-rounder की इतनी ज़रूरत है नहीं, क्योंकि Saim and Iftikhar are there as off-spin options anyways. You have Shadab and Ahmad as like leggy and left-arm spinners as well. So it's not like you need him for like the bowling resources. So it shows a sort of muddled mentality.
It's disappointing because I I know where you're coming from. I'm happy he's in the squad, but if you want to test him in conditions that are similar to the West Indies, you should have played him the home series more so than the England
Yeah.
series, right? So it's like you said, there is a muddledness going on mentally. You could see it with them. But I'm happy he's there, bro. I think we were talking a little bit about this off air. Kind of, the vibes we were getting with South Shaquille before the one day one. It's kind of, similar to the vibes I get with him in the T20 ones. Not so much stat driven or anything like that. I just think he has the game, and I think he has the guts to play at this level. He's played well at every level. We've seen him in all conditions, and I think he has, like you said, a skill set that the likes of Azam, Osama, Fakhr, and him. I think he is the only one with his particular skills of sets of skills, and I think you could, in some way or another, say that about all four of those guys as well. So it'll be interesting to see who they leave
Do
out
you want to
ultimately.
elaborate on that? Like, what are those specific skills that you see that he has that other guys don't?
If I okay, let's compare it, for example, right? Azam is your certified spin
Mm-hmm.
hitter. Nobody in Pakistan can do that thing the way Azam Khan does. Usman is like a backup opener, or you could play it one down, also a good player of spin. Fakhr, you can use him as a wild card anyway. So those are their skill sets. What I see with Salman Ali is the fact that, if you compare him to like a Babar or Rizwan coming in the middle overs, somehow, while you would probably think he's a more limited player, he in the PSL actually, I think, played quicker than those guys in the middle overs to start his innings at least. And then with the number four in West Indies, let's assume that I'm talking about the pitches that are more 160 plays 165 versus the 200 plays 200 type ones. I think you need a guy there who could come in a situation if power play wickets have fallen, if he's coming in the middle, who can find that balance between going all in, and also and between not being able to get off the blocks quick enough. And I think with his ability to play spin, rotate, hit the gaps, the level of bravery he has when he plays spinners, his ability to play different shots against good bowlers in somewhat testing conditions. I think he has the ability to play that bridge innings towards the next phase of the game that doesn't necessarily stagnate the momentum from the
Mm-hmm.
top. And I think he could do that. I think that's probably the skills that I would talk about
And
with
in the
him.
PSL, like he basically rotated between him and Shadab, or Islamabad rotated between him and Shadab to bat like number three or number four. He was often in pretty early because I think initially, particularly like उनके opening combination इतनी ज़्यादा चल रही नहीं थी. Lekin if you actually look at his strike rate in the power play, it wasn't like anything to write home about. Like it's 113, which is pretty average. In fact, like you'd say like pretty poor. But then to your point, like middle overs में उसकी strike rate 153 थी, which is like identical to like what Shadab's is and Azim's is, and players who like you say are like the better middle overs players in the Pakistan side. So to that point, like that does sort of back up your argument to have him in the squad. Particularly when you consider, and obviously we'll talk about this, but particularly when you consider the fact that um, Pakistan has been essentially fitting a square peg into a round hole at the number four position, where like we don't have a natural fit. So like openers को हम खिलाते जा रहे हैं, फखर को ट्रैक कर रहे हैं, उस्मान को ट्रैक कर रहे हैं, इधर उधर से players उठा रहे हैं. Maybe someone like Salman might actually be more suited to that position, and that's why I wanted to give him a shot earlier in that New Zealand series, but they didn't. And now, like you give Usman 5 games, like how many games do you really have? Because the squad has to be announced before the deadline for the squad having to be announced is like after the first game of the Indian series or the England series. So essentially, you have three T20s in Ireland in
The
completely different
Ireland series,
conditions,
essentially.
and in England.
Yeah.
How are you going to really give him enough time to stake his claim for that spot? And then also, like if he does well, like what where does that leave Usman? Like what are you thinking there? I guess it feel like they're not really clear on what they want. Like I feel like if they wanted one of them, they could have backed one of them and kept them in the squad. But you didn't initially pick him, and now you're picking him. So my you know thing is, it just like it shows that you're not clear in your own head. Um, which is a little bit of a concern, because like there's not a lot of time left, and so you need to pick a squad that works.
All true points, bro. Like you've probably confused yourself. We've seen this happen though historically with us. I think going into tournaments where we're always kind of switching last minute. Difference here being that there's that lack of role clarity at that position, anyways. Aside from the confusion around personnel, so it's going to be a really interesting one. I didn't realize you batted that quickly in the middle
Mm-hmm.
overs. You've obviously been diving into your stats recently,
Sure.
so good on you for taking that out. I think just one more point I want to make on him is we often have this convo, and it's a slightly negative convo. But for me, in a tournament, you have to have a team that can adapt to any situation. And if you're going to win a T20 World Cup, the situation will come where you're on the brink of a collapse at some point, right? In a big game, these things usually do happen. So the question I always ask myself is, let's say we're chasing 160 on attacky-ish wicket. 160 is a decent score. Run rate's not a problem, but you've got to bat properly towards the latter half of the tournament here, and you lose two power play wickets. Who do I want coming in at number four there against a Mujib or a Rashid or a Noor Ahmed and Nabi?
Kuldeep,
Do I want Shadab? Shadab is great. A lot
Jadeja.
of times, I'm a big advocate of. You could look at India's attack as well. I'm a big advocate of Shadab Khan coming in number four, situation wise. I don't think he always has the game awareness to play smartly in those situations. I don't think you have to look any further than the two knockout matches Islamabad won towards the end there, where he played senseless shots that really weren't needed in the given the situation of the game. Do I trust Azam Khan there? No. Do I trust Ifti there? Hell
Not
no.
against Ben for his life.
um, do I want to bring Imad up that early? No, I don't think Imad's that great of a player with spin either. And then who's the other option? Usman, who we don't quite know too much about yet either, if we're being honest. Salman is the only guy there who actually looks like, okay, like this guy's coming in, chalo, he can kind of maybe bridge it. I don't get that feeling with any of these other guys at all. So, which is why I feel like we might be remiss to leave him out. I just don't know who we'd bring him in for, which is, like you said, it's a confusing thing with these four guys because ultimately only three of them are going to get on that plane,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Also, like to your point, he's someone who, yes, like if you look at numbers, probably not like the first choice that you would see, but he's risen to every occasion or every challenge that's been put in front of him. Whether it be Test cricket, उन्होंने कहा था कि स्पिन का अच्छा प्लेयर है, ऑस्ट्रेलिया में जाके स्ट्रगल करेगा, ऑस्ट्रेलिया में भी जाके उसने अच्छी परफॉर्मेंसेस की. आई थिंक यू वर टॉकिंग अबाउट दैट व्हेन we spoke earlier as well. So every chance has been put in front of him. Even PSL, he wasn't initially selected, for the past couple of years, but he got into Islamabad this year, did pretty well. So he's one of those fighting type players. And plus, I really like him as a character. I think he's good to have around the
Yeah,
squad. He's someone who, like, if he's not playing, I feel like he can still have a positive impact on the squad. Not a lot of people are like
sure.
that. So yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do, though. All fair points.
One other thing I think, obviously, we want to talk about like the takeaways from the New Zealand series. But one other point that I really want to mention, I'm a big fan of this guy. His numbers are great in T20. He's part of your T20 World Cup squad in the last tournament and actually saved your tournament. Mohammad Haris. Like what is going on, man? Like why is this guy being treated like absolute filth? It
Why don't you fill these guys in on the latest in what's happened with him
Bro, like,
first?
matlab, it's just one thing after another after another. Like, first, like, this guy gets dropped from the T20 squad for no reason for the New Zealand series after he's, like, been part of your squad for, like, the last year or so. And, like I said, emphasis on the fact that he performed so well at the T20 World Cup. I think ultimately, like, you can look at players' performances and maybe his, like, overall record isn't that good for Pakistan. But bro, like he did perform at the biggest stage. What more do you need to know? Like ultimately, like you look at all these players like Sam Ayub, Usman Khan, all these guys. The question mark is like, yes, they performed in the PSL, but can they do it in the Pakistan shirt? Can they do it when the pressure is on? This guy literally did that from like obscurity, and sort of,
Yeah.
gave you the momentum you needed to get into the semis after you started the tournament pathetically. Or like not pathetically, but like you obviously had that Zimbabwe game where you lost unexpectedly. But then to be treated like the way he is, so firstly, like New Zealand series, he got dropped. They said like he's being rested. Wahab said this, which I think that's ultimately the root of the problems. Like again, I have no proof of this, but it feels like ever since Wahab's come in as chief selector, like this guy's just been discarded. Forget the fact that he's been dropped from the side. Like they've been the things that have been done to him otherwise. Like this guy went to the BPL to play. He got a contract there. Obviously, once he arrived there, they said that, oh, we didn't give you an NOC, so they called him back from that. So not only are you hurting his income, his own career. Forget like the Pakistan team. If you want to take him out of the Pakistan team, like as chief, even if I disagree with it as chief selector, like you have that authority to make that decision. But like you're basically hurting his career as like a professional also. Then what happens is fine, he has a pretty poor PSL, like he didn't step up to that level. Uske baad, like he's not even included in these squads again after you said initially that he was being rested. So he's almost been dropped from the Pakistan team without any like reason for it. It's something that I mention a lot in like football as well. You don't see players like drop from their international teams because of like if they're like established in that international side and a regular part of that for their performances in like club sides or whatever, right? Why is he being dropped from the side based on PSL performances when his Pakistan performances is good? Like he's not done anything in the Pakistan team to see him get dropped. Now apparently there's like a President's Cup whatever happening domestically, and he's not even been selected in the one day tournament for that. Domestically, bro, like how many teams are there? I don't even know how many teams are playing this tournament. There's probably like 6 or 7. Are you telling me that when Rizwan is with the Pakistan side, Usman is with the Pakistan side, Hasibullah is with the Pakistan side, and Azam is also like Mohammad Haris is obviously the best keeper you have in your
ये
country. He's
तुम्हारे
not in the top 7 keepers. Like,
top
yeah,
5,
like
top
definitely
6.
koi
Come on,
sazish hai,
man.
and
Yeah,
like ultimately they're
yeah.
ruining another young
It's very
cricketer's
sad.
career probably because of personal agendas. He's like wo thoda muh pat hai, like he has spoken out in the
Yeah.
past about like the way cricket is played and stuff like that. Maybe like a bit too like he shouldn't be saying.
But that's his
Yeah,
right at the end
exactly.
of the day, right? Like he's
Matlab,
allowed
Imad and
to have
Amir
an
can say whatever they
opinion.
want and troll back into the team, but
Yeah,
like this guy can't. So it's
is an easier target. And hey, Hugs, don't forget this guy was you invested in him to a point where you sent your emerging team to play the Asia Cup last year,
yeah,
and he was the captain of
yeah.
that team that won, right? So how do you go to? That's basically your A team. How do you go to captaining the A team and being in all of the squads to somehow not being in Pakistan's top 5 or 6 wicket
And even
keepers?
then, in the T20
Are you
series,
kidding
when
me?
Azam and Rizwan got injured, they pulled in Hasibullah, who, like,
With
bro, again,
Hasibullah, which
I like
yo,
Hasibullah as a player, but what performance did he have in the PSL to like get selected then, right? Like, what are you
yeah,
basing this
bro.
this
Yeah.
off? Also, like, if you
And then it's at
yeah.
a go
No,
ahead,
but
bro.
like if you look at his record, yeah, like I'll put a tweet up, but like Mazhar Arshad, who's like pretty big, stats guy, in Pakistan, about Pakistan cricket, like he said, like he pulled some numbers, like since 2022, there's 157 batters in the world who like scored 1,000 runs in men's T20s, and if you look at all the Pakistani players, he sits at number one. 150 की strike rate है तकरीबन उसकी, which is the 34th best in the world, but for Pakistan it's number one. So it also shows you how far back we are
Yeah,
in the world. But
yeah.
everyone else who we've talked about who's in the squad is like far below him, right? So
I think that was ultimately the issue, Hux, that for him to get into the Pakistan team, it was going to be Babar or Rizwan or whoever's in the number 3 spot, Saim, for him to get in. And then his bad form also coincided with Usman Khan going ballistic. So the way Usman Khan snuck in, I think, was the
yeah,
same way that Haris would have snuck into a top three
but
here.
Wasim Jr. got dropped, right? Someone else got dropped.
Yeah.
Players get dropped from squads. He did not get dropped. Like this guy got hard. Like there's
There's some
yeah,
dirty
there's something
politics
going
going
on.
on
Like
there,
because
for
like
sure.
if
For
that's the
sure.
case, he gets dropped. Like he's still in the fine. I guess one thing good, he was in the Kakul camp, so like they completely didn't disregard him. But like bro, agar domestic cricket वो खेल नहीं सकता, तो how's he gonna get back into the Pakistan team?
आई वांट टू सी कि उसकी जगह खेल कौन रहा है
Yeah, I
कोई भी
honestly
मेरे
haven't
विकेट
paid too
कीपर्स
much
जो
attention.
मोहम्मद हारिस को एक
But yeah.
स्पॉट भी नहीं मिला ब्रो एंड ना तो तुम उसको एज अ रिजर्व लेके जा रहे हो वो तो तुमने मतलब वो तो जाहिर बात हो गई लाइक you don't have Hasibullah somehow is ahead of him, right? So and then you had multiple chances to bring Mohammad Haris in the team. Irfan got injured, Rizwan got injured, Azam got injured. उसका नामो निशान नहीं है किधर कहीं भी. So it's like I don't know what is going on, but this is definitely in the Sazish zone
Yeah,
somewhere.
100%. And again, like, as people covering Pakistan cricket, like, कोई देखे ना देखे, like, we have to talk about this. Like, if players are
Yeah, for sure.
being treated this
Look, we
way.
might differ in opinion. You're a big fan of him. I'm a big fan of him too, but you're a bigger fan of him. I'll give you that. And you might have him in the squad. I personally don't have him in my squad right now, but that doesn't change the fact that this is like blatant bakwas, whatever is happening right now. Like तो पाकिस्तान के बेस्ट मतलब 20 T20 प्लेयर में मोहम्मद हारिस नहीं आता है
खुद
क्या
सोचो.
it's it doesn't make any sense at all. For me, it's more so just a fact. Yeah, I think his form left him at the wrong time in the wrong year. वो अलग बात है. तुम उसको लेके भी जा सकते थे. It wouldn't have been a problem. But the fact that like I don't know where Hasibullah came from.
Yeah.
I really have no idea where that came from. And interestingly enough, bro, like I've been critical of Haris for not performing consistently enough. Obviously, the way he bats, consistency is going to be a little bit more rare. But at this point, I think Saim Ayub has now played more for Pakistan than Mohammad Haris has with less output, right? Um,
In
and yeah,
and
there
like
are those
we
calls for
love Sam
yeah,
Ayub, and like obviously I think before I said this as well, like I think initially like in my T20 squad, like Mohammad Haris was above Sam Ayub. Not that I don't want Sam Ayub in the squad. I think Sam Ayub's a better overall talent. Like across all three formats, he'll probably have a better career for Pakistan. And I think, like, regardless of the fact that he hasn't performed yet, he should be backed, because I think they've said that he's like one innings away from performing. So it's good to hear that they're still backing him. By they, I mean like Babar and Azhar Mahmood. Um, but ultimately, like, those performances or the games he's played have been in series against New Zealand, like weakened New Zealand side. While Harris, the performances he did give you were in a world event, which I again go back to. Like, how can you
Ramada and
discount
these guys,
that,
right?
right?
Yeah. And he played smart there. Like he wasn't going crazy strike rate wise. He was playing according to the situation all of those games as
Yeah.
well too. So I think he's also gonna have to take a little bit of responsibility for the way he bats at times, bro. Not saying don't play your scoop shots and stuff. Just sometimes I think उसने खुद भी बोला भाई कि sometimes मैं बिल्कुल ही आके मैं अपना
No, and
rest of
and in
that
the,
वाला
in the
scene हो जाता
PSL
है.
he was playing like that. He didn't, he probably let himself down a little bit. But at the end of the day, like, he's like 19, 20 year old or what year old batter, right? Like puri dunya mein, you look at
Yeah.
players, like when they fail, like you don't tell them ke, oh, change your style or whatever. They say, like,
No.
keep going the same way. Like eventually the results will turn. So that's just not how we
Yeah. You know
treat
with
players.
him, but that's the reason, right? I don't. Our fans, for example, we want results, and we want modern cricket, but then
Yeah.
it's hard for even a guy like I'll speak for myself. It's hard to give like you give those guys chances again and again, and you start getting impatient. But I think you've alluded to this in the past as well, and we don't play modern day cricket. And the first guy who does come and he tries to reverse lap off a fast bowler and play these scoop shots and lie down to a spinner and hit him over
Mhm.
fine leg for six, we have that guy now, but are you going to nurture him now? And so far, they've not nurtured him at all. Some responsibility has to go to him as well for maybe not taking advantage of his PSL chances at least, and a lot has to go on the Pakistan management as well. For we've been crying for 10 years about not having these types of players. So when you get one, you better nurture that person then, which obviously PCB as always leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah.
Wahab has his freaking collar uchlava for no reason. He's like laughing when people are asking him questions, bro. It's a freaking joke, man.
एंड सबके सामने आके बैठ जाते हैं ये लोग चाय के चाय मीडिया के सामने एज इफ लाइक देर लाइक सम बादशाह or something announce करने team. There's that fisheries guy who's just sitting there. I don't know why he has to show up to announce the squad. उससे कोई questions पूछ रहा नहीं होता. um, yeah, it's just really stupid.
क्वेश्चन भी तो एक ही होगा ना उससे कि तुम हो
Yeah,
कौन भाई तो
exactly.